help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Well, Kamala Harris ran one of the most arrogant presidential campaigns you will ever see in your lifetime, and she has paid the price. She didn't pay her dues by going through an open democratic cattle call process. She was parachuted in with no mandate from the people. That's the most important one. No mandate from the people or even her own party. She then proceeded to dodge journalists. And even if you don't like journalists, it's their job to press candidates for accountability. But the most arrogant part of her campaign, simply dismissing why voters would even consider Trump. Totally missing the point. And let me say this. I am not an American. But that's an advantage here. I have traveller's eyes, my friends. I have traveller's eyes. And I can tell you categorically that I am not a huge fan of Trump. I'm fascinated by the man as a celebrity. But he's too verbally reckless for me to ache for his leadership, that's for sure. I wouldn't want him leading me. But in Kamala, you had a person who just didn't have any desire to understand why people would consider turning to someone like Trump. We all know, as people who work every day, what it's all about. She didn't know. People are scared of global events. They're scared of global war. They're financially in pain. They want to hear from someone who speaks their mind so that they can know when they cast their vote exactly what they're voting for. I don't believe Trump won because people agree with most of what he says. They voted for him because they knew where he stood. And the other candidate wouldn't have a clue. Did Kamala want to understand why people were desperate enough to vote for Trump? Nope, she didn't. If she'd been curious about those disaffected voters, I reckon she may have won. Every time she and her party denounced Trump as worse than Hitler, they were gut-punching every voter who was worried about something important to them. She is so utterly divorced from middle-class voters, as is her party. And now here he is. Trump is back. And in a two-horse race, there was never any question. Do people respond to someone who speaks their mind, even if they are offended by that mind? Or do they respond to a candidate who refuses to say what they think, possibly because they don't know what they think? Kamala played an old-school avoidance politics game in an era where voters can seek the truth while sitting on a bus with a phone in their hand. Those days of razzle-dazzle, avoid the question, they're over. They've been long gone. She should fire her media advisors. You all might know Sean. He's been on the show before. G'day, Sean. How are you?
Oh, Peter's here.
And Peter's here as well. Peter and Sean, welcome both of you. Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations to us.
So, look, let's keep this relatively brief, gentlemen, because it's very late over there. One of you is technically working and one of you has to get up at 4 a.m. Peter, I'm going to go to you first because you are the founder of Gays for Trump. Why did Trump win?
Bringing in the diverse vote, appealing to the working class citizen, understanding that the example has already been set. We've seen what a full Trump presidency, minus the last 2 years when he was knocked down, but when he was in full gear, how it compares to a full 4 years of a Harris-Kamala presidency. And what's even great is not only has he won the presidency, we also have the courts, we also have the House, and we also have the Senate. Yep. So we can get stuff done.
Sean, I've spoken to you a few times, my friend, and when I've spoken to you, I know that this was not just politics to you. This wasn't a game. I could tell that you were genuinely, I would almost say, frightened about what was to come if Trump didn't win. The financial pain, global events. I know that these things were genuinely to your heart and soul worrying you. How do you feel tonight?
I feel better. I feel like America won tonight, not just the Republicans, not just the red side. I feel like America won. and the USA is going to be put back where it was supposed to be, where it should have never left. And I think tonight, voters left and right decided to make that happen, because I know a lot of people that switched and went to the right because we're tired. We're tired of having to worry about grocery bills. We're tired of having to worry about gas. We're tired of having to worry about wars. I'm tired. We're all tired. I'm tired of all of it. I'm tired of crime going up. I'm tired of illegal immigration. I'm tired of my money going to everything but me. So I think tonight America won for sure.
You have every celebrity and powerful person in Hollywood. You have big names backing Kamala Harris. You have a huge financial campaign. She spent a fortune, much more than Trump, on her campaign. She had Taylor Swift's. She seemed to have this momentum when she ousted Biden, and let's call a spade a spade. She ousted Biden. How can you explain it to overseas listeners how Trump overcame all of that?
There's a giant difference between the world that these celebrities live in and the real world.
Yep.
Working class
Exactly.
versus, celebrities. And in reality, when people are worried about paying their bills and paying their rent and everything, celebrities are great. They're a great way for us to disappear from society and watch movies and be in a fantasy land and listen to music and stuff. But when those actors and those actresses and their singers open their mouths and talk about things that they don't really know about,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Like
like,
the
no,
cost of
go
living,
back to
right?
singing and your acting.
Yeah. And
We're not
Sean, you've
listening
said the
to
same thing, haven't you, mate? I mean, a celebrity doesn't waddle down to the supermarket trying to know if they can afford, enough meals for the week, if they're going to have to freeze ahead, literally stuff like that. They don't understand it. They're so out of touch.
Yep, they don't. They don't get it at all. That's why I would always say, like, I don't know why people are listening to them, the same ones like
Well,
Leonardo
they're not.
DiCaprio and all of that. Yeah, no, so far they're not.
They're not. They're not. What happens? I want to hear from you both. What happens now? Trump, he will. I mean, look, I have a smile on my face, not because of the win, because I'm just. What happens? He's made huge promises. He'll solve wars in one day. He'll scrap this, that, and the other on day one. There was a lot of day one comments during the campaign. He's got a busy day one. What happens in the first few days of a Trump presidency?
We begin to restore America back to where it was.
Yeah, he's already started. He's already talked to Zelensky and Putin and said, "Look, let's get this war stopped." He's already reached out to Netanyahu and says, "I want all this mess done by the time I take office." The man knows that peace is the only way we can prosper in America and the world. You cannot prosper and move as a society if you're destroying things.
Yep,
A lot of our
exactly.
listeners are scared, Sean and Peter. And let's honour them and acknowledge them for a moment, okay? Let's not dismiss them the way the Harris campaign dismissed so many people. What do you say to people that are scared now that Trump is back in the White House, that there possibly is going to be nuclear war, that there's going to be more division, that there's going to be riots, whatever they're thinking? What do you say to people who are scared of a second Trump presidency?
I just say that you don't need to be scared, because we already know what a Trump presidency looks like. We already know. We've already been it. We've already done it. We know what a Kamala Harris presidency will look like, because we lived it with Biden, and she didn't change anything.
And Peter, I mean, some of the people that are in your group gaze for Trump, to be honest with you, I read some of the things they say. They're fairly extreme themselves. Is it possible to now move to a healing place in your country where we can say, look, Trump is a president for all, not just for some?
I think we can. I mean, you got to think again. It's the difference between a Kamala Harris debate with Trump, where she literally, lets the cat out of the bag and says that we've got to make sure Ukraine wins, that we got to defeat Russia. I mean, that you talk about pushing towards a atomic war. You've got Russia working with China and working with North Korea now. Yeah, that would continue under the Kamala Harris presidency. It doesn't with Trump. Trump is trying to get the world to unite. He brought peace to the Middle East. He brought peace with Russia, and everything else. And so the unity can be there, The only thing we have to worry about now is the future, because Trump's not going to always be there.
Is he going to finish the wall?
Uh, the wall. The sad thing about the wall is it can be finished, but it's wide open. Those
Yep.
areas that they worry about, when they worry about that certain pass, where they make a big deal about that pass being open, and somebody drives down the street and all the little retainer walls, the doors are wide open to the wall.
I know we're trying to keep this short, but I have to ask you about the campaign. Trump's campaign, he made a lot of promises. He talked about eating the dogs. I believe he made a lot of errors during this campaign. But the brilliance of his campaign, from my perspective, is that he just didn't lean into legacy media at all. What I mean by that is the traditional media that thinks it controls and runs and messages to people rather than just delivering the news. Joe Rogan, for example, he goes there. He did so many young people's podcasts. I don't know if you heard them.
Yes.
And these young people, it was delightful because they're slightly out of their depth. They're slightly naive, but he's willing to talk to them about the things that are worrying them. And he gives straight answers. Some of them shock me. Some of them make my hair go grey, but I'm like, at least I know where Trump stands on everything. What did you make of the campaign?
I think there was a few moments where it was like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have said that. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. But I definitely think there was a lot more in Kamala's campaign where she messed up a lot. She
didn't mess up, Sean. She just didn't answer any questions. If I heard
exactly,
that I'm
though,
a
like,
girl from the suburbs one more time, honest
I
to
know.
God, I wanted to slap her, and I'm not even in your country.
She finally stopped laughing as much, you know.
Yes, thank God. I don't think she.
I think her biggest mistake was, again, it's out of touch with what reality is, like the celebrities. With her commercials, where she tried to be like, I want to unite, but then the next commercial would be an attack.
Yep.
Or it would be I'm here to help the middle class. I want to help the middle class. Like, lady, there is no middle class. We're all working class. We're all worried about paying our bills. There's rich people and there's poor people. There's literally no middle class. So you're appealing to the wrong people. Appeal to the working class.
But Peter, they were also all umbrella statements. Like we're very savvy as voters all across the world in Western nations now. We're savvy. We know you both want to help. We both know you want to save the whales and the planet. Tell us how you're going to do it. And she just had no concrete plans.
She had nothing on her website, no plan at all, no action. Trump had a MAGA agenda. Trump had things. He's already delivered. Kamala's just like, I'm going to be better. Really? Why don't you do it now? You're the vice president. You're literally acting as the president. Why don't you do it now? I'll do it later.
It was so apparent that she had been media trained to the eyeballs, to the point where Kamala was erased. So, for example, if they ask you this, ma'am, make sure you avoid that, and then just go to the positive over here. It's like, that doesn't work anymore. Just say the truth, and even if you fuck it up, people will go, okay, we know where she stands on that issue.
I think
it doesn't matter. Even if she tells the truth, CBS will just change the interview.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They edit it all. I think what also was starting to happen, I know at least for me, is people are tired of hearing you blame everything on Trump. I think everyone got tired of it. Like, even if he didn't win this time, I'm like, stop blaming him for everything. It's just so aggravating that the last 4 years you've been the vice president in a presidency that has literally gone nowhere but downhill. It started downhill and it just continued to go downhill. I think
it's
people
funny
got
you say
tired
it, Sean,
of that.
because I often throughout this campaign went, if I got in her ear as a media advisor, what would I be saying? And believe me, there's so much I'd be telling you, just stop that, basically. And after the stop that's, I'd be saying, try this. Don't mention the T word at all. Never again in your campaign. Paint a bright picture of what you think you could do, but stop mentioning the man's name, because, like you say, Sean, you're just trying to apportion blame somewhere. That's not your hope message that you were. She started off with that joy message, which was quite bizarre. But then it was just dropped. It was all Trump, 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 Nazi, 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 Trump, Trump, Trump. What a mistake. It's just so naive. And she has access to the best media advisors in the world. Anyway, let me ask you this, Peter, really quickly. What would Biden be thinking tonight? I mean, we'll never know because he's not an honest man. It's all political. He'd never say. But secretly, is he pleased?
Oh
I think
yes,
I think secretly he voted for Trump.
same.
Honestly, I think he did.
Joe
He's like,
Biden.
I'm going
Joe
to fix
Biden
this
showed up
lady.
to the polls today dressed in all red.
Really?
Yes, Jill
He
Biden. Go
didn't.
Google it right now. Jill Biden showed up to the polls and voted today dressed in all red.
You're kidding me.
Well, he did
No,
early voting already, so unless he
yeah,
voted again,
but she showed up in all red. Like,
Oh, that's weird. Oh,
and
that's
then he
very weird.
well,
also he
there's
also did not come to Kamala's watch view party and was not there. He said he was not coming, which I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie, that already shows a big thing because you're not even standing in your incumbent's corner. You're not even standing in the corner with her to support her and to basically give her to America. That speaks volumes about you and what your thoughts are.
There's actual talks that they might actually put Kamala in for the last couple of months, just so they can say they had the first, I don't
Oh,
know, black
stop
or
it.
whatever
They
woman.
wouldn't
Wow.
dare, Peter.
Yeah,
That's
No,
a,
they
such
already
a
talked about
conspiracy
it.
theory.
Yep,
Stop
yep.
it.
No, they
Because
already
remember,
were people talking about it.
yeah, Peter,
No.
do you remember when they started saying that they were going to enact, what was it, the 26th Amendment or the 25th Amendment? And everyone was
Oh
freaking
yeah,
out that
yeah.
they were going to try to do it to Trump. But all along, I don't think it was Trump they were coming for. It was Biden. In case something happened, they were getting ready to take and move him and kick him out and implant her right after. So, no, that wouldn't shock me at all, Peter,
And
if
I
that
know that the
happened.
Trump camp has already said that they don't plan on having a transition with the Biden administration.
No, well, that part I believe. The conspiracy that they're going to put Kamala in as the
They
president
might,
before.
ceremoniously,
No,
even if it's like a
Peter.
day or so.
Peter, I respect so much of what you say, but sometimes you say the most
I've
radical
heard it from
things that it,
multiple people from
I'm
different
sure you
sources just
have. I'm
tonight,
sure
so
they're all part of your
we'll be
group,
fine.
these multiple
I
people.
think it would be ridiculous, if they did. That's
It
what
would
I'm just saying.
just like the party's already burnt to the ground. That'll be like stomping
That's
on
what
the
I'm saying.
ashes if they
Why
did that.
would you be
Ridiculous.
the first lame duck female president too?
You were absolute ludicrous. Listen, as I said at the top, it's really late for Sean. He's got to get up for work, and you're at work, Peter, as I understand it. So thank you both for talking to me. I'd love to hear what the listeners think. Time to talk Australia at outlook.com. I'll just leave you both with this. I am so looking forward to the inevitable YouTube clip where they do the slow motion, how the ladies of The View reacted to the Trump presidency news. I love those clips.
I love when they get all the liberal ones when they start screaming and everything like that, when they start saying Trump won and they all start losing their minds.
Oh, it's
Or
delicious. And
you know what
as
I
I
really
say,
loved? There was a video that I watched today that I was just watching with my husband, and it was hilarious. The woman was like, "If Trump wins, I am definitely going to be leaving the country. Not because he won, but because I can finally afford to travel outside the country if he becomes our
ah,
president."
very nice. Very nice. There's a twist. There's a twist.
Yes. So I
I
was like,
like it.
yes, that's us right there. I cannot
Quite
wait.
sincerely, though, Sean and Peter, I honestly do congratulate you. I pray that your country can have some unity. I dare say it's not going to for quite some time. But let's just hope Trump can do what he did at the sort of the start of his last presidency. Just lay low and get the job done and forget about the cameras for a while. Just get into that Oval Office and do what needs to be done. For God's sake, lead the country, right? Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Coming to you from the mountain fortress of pop culture. You're listening to Time to Talk. It's a bit scary, Peter, when the app here is telling me that you're not passing your health checks.
Yes, I'm all good.
It's diagnosing us now. We're not even in the land of AI yet, and it's already diagnosing you. You're not passing your health checks.
I know.
Oh dear, it's very
Scary
terrible.
times.
Are you enjoying Tension 2, my friend?
Of course I'm enjoying Tension 2. It's fantastic. It's a great album. It's
I've never been more obsessed.
Oh, wow.
Well-
That's saying something, I think. isn't
Well,
it?
actually, it might be the glass of wine in my hand, but it's true though. Like Rhythm of Love, I was absolutely obsessed. I remember thinking when I first heard Rhythm of Love, lying on my stomach on my parents' bed, listening to it, kicking my legs, going, "I'm not sure about this," because it didn't sound like "Enjoy Yourself."
Oh,
But over time, of course, I became obsessed. Tension 2, though, like again, I might be not lying on my stomach, kicking my legs, but I'm very excited. It's a great album.
exciting.
It's brilliant.
It does remind me of like a little bit of those earlier days, like because it's really
Yes.
catchy, it's really poppy, it's fun. You can dance, it gets you moving.
Exactly. Unadulterated pop, right? No
Exactly.
explanations required. Just put it on and have fun.
That's what it
And
says on the tin.
I'm telling you, I bet you everyone's having this same experience as me. That you're just minding your own business, having your normal day, and one of those tunes is rattling around in your head.
One of them, or like heaps of them. That
Yeah.
I've had like "Hello" on a loop in my head all day today. In fact, I'm getting a little bit annoyed, Kylie. No,
Stop with the
I like
earworms.
it.
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. Like
Actually, maybe that's why you didn't pass your health check. Maybe you got worms in your ears.
maybe I do. I certainly do. But I was thinking, what's that? What do they say? Like to get a song out of your head, what do you have to do? Like sometimes they say if you sing it, it leaves. I've tried them all today, and none of them have worked.
No. And actually, what you said before is really interesting because I don't just have one popping up in my head. All of a sudden, I'll be going, diamonds, diamonds, or
Yes.
I choose you. I think that's out of Taboo, something like that. And it's random because I'll be in meetings all day, back to back, running, traveling, cars, flights, and these songs are rattling around. And I did something that I haven't done in a long time, Peter. I know that this album is such an obsession for me, but I had total media blackout on Saturday. I didn't listen to it because I was starting to starting to become a problem. It was starting to become a disease.
Yeah, I think that's very wise. Look, I've listened to it every day since it's come out, so I haven't had that experience yet, but it's probably on the cards in the near future for
We
me.
both need to seek help.
I think we do.
Do you want to hear this? See if you can hear this.
Oh,
Can you hear that?
yes.
I went to a lesbian wedding. I don't know if you're allowed to call them that, but that's what it was. So
Okay.
what do you want me to say, people? We don't sugarcoat here. It was a lesbian wedding. And they gave me this little glass. Well, they gave everyone. I wasn't special, but they gave everyone the glass. And what I'm jiggling here, I'll do it again. Actually, it's to do a mystery sound. Actually, let's do a mystery sound. What do you think that is?
On those AM radio stations, they had the secret sound.
Yeah,
And it went on for months and months. And then, like, someone won it and they got, like, $20 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or Nikki Webster tickets. Yeah, exactly. Or, as Kath and Kim would say, it's someone peeling the lid off a fat-free fruit.
Yeah.
What do you reckon it is, though? Here it is.
Oh, God. I don't know. Let me think. Is it some little
Hit the mic. Sorry about that.
bell thing? I don't know. What is it?
So, look, it was there's going to be an anticlimax here because I don't know how to describe it. Basically, it's the sort of gay pride colours wrapped around the stem of the wine glass.
Oh.
It's like a beautiful little ring, and it's got a little pendant
wedding,
thing
of
hanging
course
off it,
it
which
is.
I'm blind, so I won't be able to read it. What was that?
I said it's a rainbow wedding, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was such a beautiful wedding too, and then I went and
glasses. Do they? How old are they? Are they
who?
the lesbians who got married? So, I don't know. I feel like
I've never been asked that on my show. How old were the lesbians? Oh, look, you should never guess someone's maybe early 50s, I'd say.
Okay.
It was a beautiful. I'd never anyway. They're just lovely, lovely people. But I broke the wine glass in the dishwasher, and I said to them, "Oh, it's such a shame. I love my glass." Anyway, they gave me a new one. Isn't that nice? So that's what I'm holding.
Lovely. So that's very nice. Well, you're going to hand wash that from now on, aren't you?
No, I will never hand wash, Peter. There's a few things in life I don't do. I don't scrub. I don't clean. I outsource most things. There's a bit of insight. People often say, "Can you tell us a bit more about yourself?" Well, there's a clue. I don't do anything.
Because you're a bit of a mystery man, Tim. You know, like people don't
Am
know
I?
much about you. No, well,
Am
that's
I a mystery man? Am I? I've
It's good
never
to
been
have an air
discovered.
of mystery around you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, people often do ask. They say, "Can you make video versions of the podcast?" Because I know other podcasts do that, and it's I don't know how people do it, actually staring at full screen. But the reason we don't is because I like the idea of people absorbing themselves into. They can create their own picture. I think that's amazing. You can create your own
That
picture.
is a nice thing to do. Yeah, yeah.
It is. Like, how do you think people picture you?
I've got no idea.
About 7 foot tall.
7 foot tall. Well,
Only got one leg because you got the prosthetic one, right?
prosthetically. Yeah, no, look, I don't know. Toby had some interesting things to say.
Our Toby. He's a good friend of the show, isn't he?
Based on my voice, but I won't repeat them here. This is a family show.
Oh, no, please do. What did Toby say?
No,
it's not a family show. Believe me. I don't think there's anything family about this. I don't let my daughter listen to this show and she's 15. In fact, she heard a snippet of it the other day, a preview that's coming up probably in this episode, actually. And she went, "That is the most disturbing thing I've ever heard."
Oh, well, I had it. Yeah, who was it? Which guest was
oh, God knows. It could have been any of them. They're all insane. We're all insane.
But we are. I really enjoyed that episode with John the other day. John from, was it Sweden?
Yeah. Now, can I make a thank you for giving me a segue? Can I take the baton for a sec?
You can. It's your show.
All you people, all you inclusive people that say, John, get off the soapbox, get off the stage. Some of them called him disturbing. Some of them, people called him awful names, Peter.
I saw a few.
And I just think, wow, like you think you're an inclusive person and then you say, well, someone like John shouldn't be allowed to talk. Shut the fuck up. John can say whatever the hell he wants, and he did. And if he didn't listen to Tension 2, so what? And then people were saying he was hocking up and smoking, and he was. But, does that mean he's not allowed to talk? Screw all of you who've written me messages about that, and there's been a lot of you. You should be ashamed of yourself, because if you want to be inclusive, you don't get to decide where the inclusivity starts and where it ends. You don't decide that. If you want to be inclusive, be inclusive. You don't get to decide the parameters. Or step outside and just say, I'm not an inclusive person. That's fine by me too. But don't pretend to be inclusive and then have a go at John. Poor John.
Or at least John is out, doing out there on the airwaves, doing something like, if you're going to criticize, well, maybe offer up, to go on the next show yourself or something.
Well, that's it. Come into the Fortress. You're always welcome.
The Fortress. I think the Fortress is, there's been a lot of people in the Fortress, and a lot of different types of people.
And that's a beautiful thing. I love it. And I tell you what, in this episode or the last one, I'm not sure where it will land, we talked to, I can't remember, James. We talked to James, and I had him on to talk about Diddy, right? And what I love about this show is I thought he was coming on to talk about, just what we know about Diddy and where he thought it might head. Yep. My God, anyone who's listened to that
episode yet? What? How did it go? Where did it go?
Oh, I still haven't worked it out. I'm scared though. I'm scared. They're taking the spinal cord fluid from the children, and the celebrities are drinking it for their youth. It sounded like Death Becomes Me.
Yeah, the QAnon stuff. Look, yeah, okay.
Oh my God. Honestly, and I've never heard it really before. I've been on the fringes. I've heard, but to have someone on the end of the line saying it, and I'm more than happy to share that. My cognition was like, oh, what do I do with this? This was nothing like what I thought we were going to talk about. But I just thought, do what you do to. I was fascinated. Just let him explain to me his perspective on the world.
I've heard a lot about this too, like this QAnon stuff, and I just want to know, why does Nicole Kidman's father always feature in these stories somewhere?
He's a psychiatrist or psychologist.
He was, yes, but
has he passed away?
He's passed away. Yes.
Oh.
I wouldn't. Yes, we don't want to. We can say what we like because he's dead. No, he can't sue. But sorry, why?
Nicole can.
Well, yeah.
I've never heard his name mentioned in those circles.
He's always like in this whole child Hollywood conspiracy thing. You always hear about Nicole Kidman's father, and I'm going for an Australian angle here, and who else? Well, Nicole herself. Sometimes they mention her. Bruce Spence, of all people.
Who the devil's Bruce Spence?
Oh, he was in Mad Max and lots of other movies. He's a good. He's a really nice guy, apparently, from what I've heard. But also he's a very good actor. And I just think, look, to be honest, I think without trying to put people down. I think these theories are just crazy. I mean, honestly. But yeah.
I don't think you're misplaced in
mind
saying that. Look, I'm open minded, but look, my point is really basic. It's a bit like the moon landing. People go, "Oh, the moon landing was a fake." It's
It
like,
never
yeah,
happened.
but if you did, the common sense would tell you if you managed to stage a fake moon landing, why would you do it another half a dozen times? Like, that's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And with this, stealing the spinal fluids and the Illuminati, all of what James was talking about with me,
Yeah.
it's like, why would Kylie put a pyramid or a prism, because this came up, by the way, on a cover? If she's trying to be part of the Illuminati and sort of hide underground, why would you put on the front, like, hello, I'm Illuminati. It's on the front of my album cover of Tension 2. It's ridiculous. Like, if it truly was true, why wouldn't they all be decoding things a lot better than what they do?
And, like, so obviously, like that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
About the album cover. Katy Perry's also been accused of this. But
they all
have. Frankly.
That's why Madonna's song, right? She wrote it to almost parody the whole concept of it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But Kylie does look. This is the thing when you become really big, and Kylie's. Well, she's always been big, but she's on a peak again. You start attracting all this stuff, don't you? We see it, lots of stars.
It should be one of those barometers. If you get lots of conspiracy theories about you, it means you're at the top of your game.
You're at the top of the game, and Kylie herself has said that. I remember, she's back when in the early 2000s, she was talking about some rumor or other, and she said, "Oh, this is what happens when you sort of when you what did she say? When you're at number one, you're number one in the tabloids as well." Or something.
Yeah. And actually, when you track, and you and I can do it, not many of the listeners can. We go back a long way.
We do.
Every peak, she has had, like, peak number one. Okay, so there's dungeons, sex handcuffs,
yes,
all kinds of things, right? And peak number two, during Fever, apparently Bin Laden was trying to get Kylie. I remember that story.
Right, people were saying she's the anti-Taliban poster girl.
Yeah, that's right, saying she symbolised everything in Western culture that was wrong. Naughty Kylie. And then they had the picture of her on the front of Sky magazine, the one where she's nude, strategically crossing her legs. Yeah. And again, now we've had James, who I have a lot of respect for James, because if that's the way you view the world, I mean, we all view the world differently. So
look, if you can make a good case for it, I don't mind hearing it. But if it's just like, because I haven't heard it yet, but
Justin Bieber was trafficked, apparently, Peter. Trafficked.
Oh, yeah. Well, that has been out there in the zeitgeist for a while. That rumor. That might explain
for 48 hours, apparently.
Oh,
I don't know why specifically 48 hours. I mean that just seems lazy to me. If you're going to traffic someone, 48 hours. Why put some time frames around it?
Well, yeah. Well,
go 48 days. They'll have some respect for that.
Trafficked for 48 hours. I mean, honestly, these stars, these celebrities, they're just.
Now, listen,
crap. But
you're talking to us, Peter, today about talking about Kylie, and this is not a conspiracy theory, though. This is, well, some people might say it is, but I've actually done a bit of research. Tell us about this incident. So she's in New York. Right. And she's promoting Tension 2. Tell us about what's swirling around on the internet.
There was a controversial incident, and this is an example of when you're at the top, there's lots of stories about you. And this is one of them. On Reddit, there's a controversial little thread called "Weird Experience with Kylie at Rough Trade Today." Now, Rough Trade is a chain of record stores and record label based in the UK. They have an outlet in New York City, though, and that's where Kylie did her New York City Tension 2 album signing. One of the people who attended basically wrote about their experience. They say, I'll just read a bit of it. I was the fourth person to meet Kylie today and had a very strange experience. Kylie immediately got up before I was able to greet her and said something along the lines of, "I already fucking told them to close the door." She kept shouting.
Can you read that part again? I like it.
Oh, okay. "I already fucking told them to close the door." She kept shouting something like that and then got up from the table and made her way to the door. She then returned to the table where the signing was taking place and continued seeming agitated and ranting for a bit. She then attempted to move the table back herself so people couldn't see in from the door. And he goes on and says he got to talk to her for a few seconds. He did get his vinyl signed, but it was a very bizarre experience. He says, I've only heard how amazing she is to interact with, and that was, sadly, not my experience. Does anyone know what happened? I'm assuming something with the store had set her off. I'm also hearing rumblings I wasn't the only one who had a strange experience. So it all sounds very un-Kylie-like, doesn't it?
Well, Peter, here's the thing. Before I even read that on Reddit, because it started taking off, it got some legs.
Oh, okay.
Before I even read that, I was looking at the photos of Kylie at the Tension signing in New York City, Tension 2.
Yep.
And hand on heart, I was like, there's something odd here. She did look hacked off to me. This is before I read it. She looked hacked off. There was a table between her and her fans. She's renowned for getting up close and personal, but she had a good barrier between these people and the fans.
Yeah.
You could argue it's America. Maybe there was a bit of security. I don't know. So I put it to one side and thought, okay. But in every photo, and I challenge the listeners to go and look at the photos that all the fans are putting up of their photos with Kylie in New York City, she looks tense, to say the least.
Yeah. Interesting. I saw the Today interview, which also in New York. I think it was that morning.
Yeah.
I think. And I also thought, look, this is the thing. When you've been a fan for like decades, you kind of know.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of get to read their expressions. So while she was all very lovely and everything on the surface, there was some kind of tension happening there.
Oh, did you see the slip you just made there? Maybe deliberately?
Sort of semi-deliberately, yes. Tension, get it?
So funny. We should be on stage.
Funny, yes. So I agree. And then then reading that on Reddit, and then the replies that followed, which there were multiple people sort of saying, "Yes, I saw that too," or "I was a bit behind you when I saw it." It confirms it. There was something up that day.
Whenever I listen to Tim and his panel of guests, my toes begin to curl. And I feel just the right amount of tingling all over my aching body. Now, let's get back to the show.
Just to be totally transparent, I've reached out to, I think we're up to 8 people to come on the show and talk about, who were there, to come on the show and talk about that.
Yeah.
Many people were very willing to talk to me on text and voice memos and all that sort of stuff, but no one wanted to come on the show. And 3 of them said, I won't come on the show because I don't want to, give Kylie's reputation a rundown. The weird thing is, everyone's entitled to a bad day. Is it surprising that Kylie used the F word in public in front of a queue of fans?
Well,
yes.
That is in front of fans, yes. Using the F word in general. Kylie herself has said many times in interviews that she swears like a trucker or a wharfie. She has said that. She's on the record saying that. But yes, it's unusual that it was in public. It's not the first time, though. There have been other times. There was
Really?
Oh yeah, there was.
Are you thinking about the bread roll incident?
No, I'm not. But that was a funny
one.
There was.
We better tell people what that was, because we've got a lot of new listeners.
True.
Bread roll, paparazzi. Can't remember if it was London or Sydney. And essentially, the paparazzi we've had, she started. This is a true story, not a rumor. They got the photos of it. Must have got a good payday for them too. She was chucking bread rolls at the photographers, which is very amusing.
It is, and I'm sure if you Google, let's do it now, Kylie Minogue bread
go
roll,
on.
It'll come up. I'm certain of it.
I always just want the bread roll. They look beautiful, by the way.
They should have. It's a pity eBay wasn't around back then, because they could have got a lot of money for that bread roll.
If they caught them, yeah, that's right. Or even if they dropped on the ground and picked them up too. Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's right. Okay, if you Google Kylie Minogue bread roll, the first picture that comes up is one on X with Kylie about to lob one at just
hang on a sec. So truly to God, if you type into Google Kylie Minogue bread roll,
yes, it comes up. It comes up. And it's
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. The expression on her face. She's so determined.
Oh yes.
Gosh.
She's competitive.
I'm
going to get this one right in the gob, is what she's thinking.
Yeah, so good on her. Yeah, so anyway,
what do you mean it's not the first time? Where else has she spawned?
So I think it was GQ magazine, GQ Australia, the one she was on the cover with those twins. I can't remember their name. There's 2 Aussies.
Oh, the guys that were in the British ad. The 2 surfers.
Oh, they're two Aussie male models. I don't know what.
They were in the campaign for Brits to come to Australia just before COVID.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they had one line, and they had surfboards. Yeah, that's them.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I know the photo shoot that accompanied too. That was shot in Sydney. Yes.
Yeah, and she was anyway. The interviewer, interviewed her and followed her around to a few events, including something to do with The Voice Australia, and apparently a producer or someone behind the scenes was giving Kylie her mark, stand on the line or whatever. And they said it a few too many times. And Kylie said, I fucking get it. Okay. That's what the, that's what it said in this article anyway. So,
Wow.
I think the facade does drop occasionally, which it should. I mean,
Hang on. For the facade, you think that we don't see the real Kylie?
Oh, I'm not okay. That sound the facade. When I say facade, I actually do think she's a genuinely nice person. But I mean, it must be she's she can't just be perfect all the time. So I think that there is a little bit of, when I say facade, like a little bit of a public face that she wears.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not at all saying she's like, deep down.
She's not like Ellen DeGeneres, right? That we're going to find out that she tells everyone that they can't look her in the eye.
Yeah, no, Kylie is well known to be, generally very, very polite and lovely to people. And I think she really is. But I mean, she's a bit like royalty. She's got to kind of, I'm going to say pretend that she's perfect, and she's not. She's a human being, and I mean, it must get exhausting.
I love that idea because if that's true, and it is, because you're on the show to talk about the fact that Kylie said the F word. Oh my God. But the fact that we thought we should talk about it actually it underpins the point you're making, which is it's quite a shocking thing or out of character thing, right?
Yeah.
And I just, it's interesting. She's cultivated that image for herself. I'm not saying that it's a problem for her, but if it was a problem for her, that anything she does that's a slightly out of order causes her some media unrest, well, it's only on herself. She's cultivated that image brilliantly.
Well, she has. What she's really cultivated too is, it's a two-dimensional kind of image, really, isn't it? Which is perfectly fine, and I think it's great.
Oh, no, I don't agree with that. Well, two-dimensional public persona, no.
Well, I just think that, for her own protection, I mean, it's kind of a character she plays really. I mean, I think we all kind of know that on some level. Well,
in Impossible Princess, she talks about the many characters inside of her in many of the tracks, doesn't she?
That's true. Yeah. She does. But does that mean she's devious and really
no.
she's a bitch underneath? Of course not. It just means that
she's human.
Yeah.
I wish someone had recorded it. Because to go back to the incident in New York, again, talking to, I think we're up to, I think I've had a proper conversation with about 5 people who did observe this. So, Peter, when you first sent it to me, I had read it, but I was still at that point thinking, well, that's just one of those stupid stories that's not true at all. Because Kylie's too smart and all the things you've just talked about. She's too publicly smart to do that. But, I've talked to, including the original poster, there's 6 now people saying, I saw that. And apparently it was something to do with a door not far behind the desk. You can actually see it in the photos.
Yeah.
According to one of the people that's talking to me, they said, look at the photo, you can see the door. And apparently the door might have had 2 things that they speculate. There's 2 different answers I've been given. One, that it was letting in extremely frosty air and she didn't like that. And number 2 was that people were taking unauthorized photos through the door and she didn't like that. So I don't know what the truth is. Maybe one of the listeners there want to send us a voice memo if you were there. You can do it anonymously, by the way. All these people didn't want to come on. I'm thinking that's really goes to your royalty idea, actually. But time to talk Australia@outlook.com. Let us know if you were there, exactly what happened. I'm dying to know.
What happened? I think, now I'm pretty sure, and also people can confirm or deny this, but I'm pretty sure the people inside at the signing weren't meant to be taking photos or recordings with their phone. And that's
true.
Maybe why there's no footage, because they all got sent the photo, or they
Yes.
download it from some app. So, but I just think it was a really simple case of Kylie had asked for the door to be shut several times. Nobody did it. So she had to get up and do it herself, which is...
Yeah, but isn't that just a little glimpse into my world and your world? I mean, suffer, Kylie, suffer. Close the door. Close the door. Nobody gives a shit if you're us. Just because you're Kylie. Come on now.
Well, I kind of think, like, when you look, these promotional tours are grueling, and they kind of are timed down to the, quite... They're really tight, and she didn't have much time, and she was on a she'd been waking up at the crack of dawn to go to Today, and then funneled across to a record store, some dingy little record store. And it's like, look, it's not that hard. Just close the door. And she probably got the shits. I mean,
I think you've been far too courteous. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that the life of celebrity, particularly when you're at this peak and Kylie's absolutely putting in the hard yards, I'd never accuse
really
her of
works
not being a
really.
hard worker.
Yeah.
But welcome to the rest of our worlds. Like, I'm not trying to say that she mocks us. She doesn't. So this sounds a bit out of order, but who doesn't get up at the crack of dawn to get to work and then works really hard and goes home? And then, I mean, she's the one who said she recorded some of the lyrics for Attention to in the bath. It's like, well, I'd love to do some of my work from the bath, but I can't afford a bathtub, Kylie. Woe is me. Woe is me.
I agree with you here, but to take your point further,
And that bath would have had gold tinted tap or proper gold taps. Sorry, Peter, I'm on a roll.
Taps and like 3 dozen red.
One of those fonts that you could just use your little toe to sweep across. I mean, really. I mean, put yourself in my place, Kylie.
Well, true, and maybe she is, because like us, like if we're having a bad day, we might. Well, I do, oh shit, or fuck this, fuck this, or
what do you do when you've had a bad day, Peter? Besides swearing, what do you do to get it out of your system?
Really, look,
bread
I don't
rolls,
have many bad days, to be honest.
Really?
But no, any day.
You don't have a temper, a secret temper?
Yeah, I do, but it comes out and then it's gone within about 30 seconds.
30 seconds? Oh, that's a bit pitiful, isn't it?
Like, yeah. Look, you let it out and then it's all gone. But
you don't kick the dog, do you?
Maybe that's what Kylie was doing. She had her little tanty and then she was right. She sat back down and signed all those records. And all
the people on Reddit are bringing up the old incidents. You brought up a few already, but the two that keep getting swirled around on the back of this New York City incident are no, not many people, because
they don't know. They're not
exactly.
They're not old like us. You're right.
Exactly. They weren't there for the heyday for the bread roll incident. Thank God I was alive, people. Thank God I was alive. Yeah, no, but the Impossible Princess, when that jerkhead went up and said, "Are you fighting with that?"
That's right.
I just got him a jerkhead, and now I think he's a hero.
The way she just stood up. She just stood up and reared up to her full 5 foot nothing.
Well, everyone talks about that part. My favourite part was when I'm reading that she's starting to cotton on to this is starting to annoy me. There's a little flash in her eyes just before she signs the second. Yeah, I love it.
It's so great.
It really is. If you haven't seen that, folks. But then the other one that comes up, which a lot of people are talking about, is when that jerk interviewer asked her about if she had tips for diarrhea on air.
Oh, yes, on that.
And she thinks that it's gone off air, but she's still being recorded. And do you remember what she said?
Yes, she goes, "Is he retarded?" I remember that. Oh, did you hear what he's saying? Is he retarded?
Oh my God. She went so bogan, didn't she? Is he retarded?
It was like her bogan roots suddenly came back. It was Charlene for a second.
It did. You could just see the curls bursting around her well-covered hair. Yeah, it's so awesome.
I love that. Now that's all still on YouTube as well. Yeah, no, those two incidents were fantastic insights into.
So that's my question to you, Peter. These sorts of incidents, like, interesting that all those people that wouldn't come on the show. Oh, I don't want to besmirch. God, that drink's kicking in. I don't want to besmirch Kylie, and I don't want to come on. And it's like, it doesn't besmirch Kylie, does it?
No, it doesn't. Look, I still think I think she's fantastic. I mean, if anything, it just makes me think more of her. The fact that when she really wants to or needs to, she can.
I just wish she lost it over something a little bit more legit. Like a closed door, like that is diva. Sorry, it's entitled diva, but it is a great insight into what she normally does get. If she says close the door, someone does. In our world, What happens when you tell someone to close a door, Peter?
I don't even bother because I know I close it myself because I know there's no one's going to do it.
You have to hoik yourself off that seat. You have to trudge along with your
I have to try-
knuckles scraping along the ground. You have to close it, and then you have to come back to the seat and plonk yourself down
Pop
like
myself back and feeling every one of my 49 years. You know,
it's a terrible thing,
really
isn't
hard.
it? It's a terrible thing. Anyway, so I'm glad we put it out there. Some people will be upset that we're even mentioning the incident.
Mentioning it. And look, but can I just say, like, I mean, how long she's been doing this since the late 80s? There's like what, at the most, we can count on the fingers of one hand.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
The times that these things have happened.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. So
I'm just like the way she's managed to manage the media. One other, like, I don't know if this counts. It's not quite in the same basket, but when she was constantly having some Barneys, like you wouldn't believe, with James Gooding, I think his name was.
Yeah.
One of the few boyfriends who's sold his story. Well, and barely that, like he barely said anything, but nonetheless, she was paparazzi burst out of the bush while they were having an argument. That's a horrible thing. And she was in tears, and it looked one of those classic, the hand in the camera type. It was horrible.
There was a similar thing that happened in Sydney at the Sheraton on the Park after the arias that she appeared at with, what's his name? The bearded guy.
Oh, not Sass.
Yes.
Oh, I hate that man. He's just awful. I mean, can you imagine Peter getting together with someone, stroking their hand, giving them good loving, which I'm sure he did, and saying, "Now, sweetheart, do you mind paying for my hair plugs?" And then as soon as you get them, and as soon as the little sprouts start, you leave.
Yeah, I know. Look, yeah, but remember that she had that aria thing with him. She went what aria thing? She went to
Marriage First or something, wasn't it?
That's right. And then the next day there were pictures of her like teary-eyed in the restaurant at the.
Oh, those photos were awful, weren't they?
They were awful. I was like, look, that guy. I mean, honestly, well, I suppose we shouldn't judge. We don't know the full story.
Yes, we should. You know why? I would tend to agree with you, Peter, except for the fact that this is your classic narcissist comment.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the relationship, at the very beginning, he was interviewed. And I don't know if you remember this.
I remember this.
I didn't even know who Kylie was.
Yes, that is utter bullshit. I remember
what
thinking,
a jerk. I thought Meghan Markle, I didn't know who royalty was. And there's a photo of her standing in front of Buckingham Palace. Well done.
Yeah, you're so right. That is a very, very good.
It's a big telltale sign of someone whose ego is so big that they can't even say, I knew one of the most famous people on the planet. Like, fuck you.
Like especially growing up in the UK at the age he was. Of course, that's impossible.
Are we talking about Sass or Meghan now?
Sass now. Well, Sass.
Both of them. They're both. They should marry each other. Imagine the babies.
Well, he is married.
Like a whole new breed of human species called narcissists.
Aussie girl, Joshua Sass. Now,
I know. He's always in Double Bay or Rose Bay or something.
And he's married to.
And I'm a poet. Like, isn't he the son of the Cubs or the Boy Scouts or something like that?
No,
look, he's got a proud bloodline, and so he's one of those English people that the bloodline is very important to him, and I actually respect that. I really do. But it's this insecurity. And the way he deals with his insecurity that I've got a problem with. I'm a poet. I'm so remember his engagement message even. Oh God,
that's right. It was Kylie all very earnest and
she would have been mortified. Oh, Kylie, I want to put an engagement ad into the papers. What do you think? Like private Kylie would have been like, okay.
That was also weird, that relationship. Like all of this stuff was so un-Kylie. The ad in the paper, like that was just all.
Even the marriage first, like good on her. She always supported game, but a T-shirt at an award ceremony.
Yeah, well, it didn't last much longer after that.
And what did I could be wrong about this, but I'm sure he said something along the lines of, I won't marry Kylie until gay marriage is legalized in Australia.
I think they both said, look, we're not getting married until gay marriage.
Yeah, that's just, again, just a wanker move. It really is. Like virtue signaling to the world, look how wonderful I am. I'm going to put my life on hold until everyone can have what I have. Horrible, horrible man. Why were we talking about him?
We were talking about Sass because we were talking. How did we get onto that? Gosh, how did we get onto that? I don't even have a wine, and I can't remember. How did we get onto that? Oh, just okay. We got you. You mentioned James Gooding and the paparazzi.
Oh yes, that's right.
And it was one of those rare times when you could see behind behind the scenes because someone had intruded into that moment. So that's the thing. You rarely see this with Kylie. She's very, very good at keeping this all behind the curtains. Which is
but
good for her. That's amazing in this day and age. Like,
it is, and I don't even count this one in New York as a slip. It's just she might have chose to. I'm annoyed. I'm very tired. I'm very cranky. Maybe someone hadn't brought her a little coffee. I don't know what was going on, but she's absolutely entitled, just like the rest of us, to have her moment. And I'm so proud of her that she did. I don't know if it was deliberate or accidental, but I'm glad she did.
Exactly. And look, she might be jet lagged. I mean, she's been flying all over the world. Who can keep up with where she is? I'm surprised she even knows where she is half the time.
Imagine.
And she's also been unwell. She had bronchitis recently. I've read somewhere.
Well, that's one of her biggest fears. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but she has said that one of the concerns she has about the tension tour, and when you look at the calendar, my God, that would put people half her age into a state of shock. But she's talking already about how she's going to keep herself healthy. So you heard it here first, guys. I reckon we're going to hear about Kylie engaging a specific nutritionist or dietitian or something. Someone's going to go on tour with her to look after her health. I'm guessing it this time.
Yeah, I think so. I think, I'm sure there'll be someone, a doctor or someone, because it's grueling. That, and she's going to. I remember I said I think she's going to go to every continent except Antarctica. Well, that's almost true. She's got dates in every continent now except Antarctica and Africa. So all she needs to do is add a date in Africa somewhere. And what I said is
come on, Kylie. I mean, the African fans have been waiting decades.
She has been there though.
South Africa, probably, right?
Yeah, South Africa for the Aphrodite tour.
Yes.
And
she's not doing South Africa. That's interesting.
She might. Who knows? They keep adding more dates. And she's also done Morocco and Egypt, not on a tour, but for sort of festivals.
I think she was paid for a private birthday party at one of those.
Yeah.
Amazing what these people get paid for a one-off event. No, but I do remember those. But yeah, South Africa has a huge Kylie fan base, a very dedicated, and we have a lot of South African, and my children are South African, so I have a link.
Your children are South African?
They are. Well, they're half South African, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
You know how you can tell because they've got enormous foreheads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm allowed to say that because it's my children.
They're your kids, all right. Okay, yeah. Well, there's lots of South Africans in Sydney, aren't there? They all, and not all of them live in St Ives either.
And my in-laws, they say, and how is that little radio show of yours going now, Tim? It's like, oh, thank you for asking. Thank you. Do you want to hear about Kylie for the next hour and a half? And then they
can talk about Kylie. Yeah.
Exactly. No, they definitely don't care. But so that's where we're at. Thank you for coming on, Peter.
Thank you for having me on.
Shedding light on this
most important
scandalous issue. It's one of the most important milestones in Kylie's career, isn't it?
It is. I'm just surprised the mainstream media haven't picked up on it yet. Yet. I don't know if there is.
You know why? Because there's no footage.
True.
If it bleeds, it leads. So in other words, you need to see Kylie with the bundled up fist shaking it at the door. I hate you, door. I hate you.
Yeah, that's true. But
front page news.
There needs to be footage of this, and look, maybe that's the other reason why she just knew there were no cameras, so she was. I'm gonna.
Maybe, yeah. Well, yeah. But I like I say, I found it really interesting. Those photos. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but all those lovely American fans who'd lined up to get the photo at Tension 2, and they're kept at bay by this ridiculous table, which wasn't even pretty decorated or anything like that. And she's like. She looks really. The body language is closed, and the expression is forced. I'd love to know. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I'm curious about what's going on for her.
You know, like she wasn't rude. No one said
no.
In that entire thread. We must say before we go, no one actually said that she was rude to them or anything like that. They just found she was a little bit off or it was a bit weird or whatever. But even those people that mentioned that still said she was, you know. I'm paraphrasing, but still said she was fine. So
absolutely, yeah. And all of them said, on top of what you've just said, they all said too that they know Kylie, her what do we call it? The benchmark, or what do they call it in body language circles? Your baseline. Your baseline. They know Kylie's baseline, so that's how they knew something was off. Any other celebrity, they'd think, oh well, she's just a bit cold and distant. But in that session, because they know her bass line so well, they were like, this is unusual.
That's right. So we still
yeah.
love you, Kylie. We understand. If
We love you, Kylie. We love you.
We understand. Everyone has
More of the F-bombs, please. More of the F-bombs. Shaking your fist at a cloud like Grandpa Simpson.
and bread rolls.
Peter, I love talking to you.
Thank you for having me on again. Good to chat.
Hello?
Hello there.
Hello there.
5 minutes tops.
Okay.
All right, and you're on.
Hi, Tony.
Excellent. Hello, Kylie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. It's great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on Century FM.
Thank you.
Now, your new tune sounds very good. Red-Blooded Woman, really like it.
Thank you.
Midweek's a bit disappointing, though.
Why is that?
Well, I've seen them, and it's only number 5, or apparently as low as number 5. And I think that's surprising for someone of your pedigree, Kylie. It should be higher.
Well, it's a tough week this week.
Is it?
One's... Peter Andre's... Peter Andre's
Peter
there.
Andre. Come on, Peter Andre's got to drop out by the weekend, hasn't he?
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a rather pessimistic start to the interview, though.
Now, I've heard recently that your interviews have been getting a little bit boring, and apparently interviewers have been asking the same old questions.
Really?
Is that right? So I'm going to be different today.
All right.
Here we go. Right, I've recently had salmonella, and it wasn't a nice experience, Kylie. Have you got any tips for me and people in the Northwest on how to aid indigestion?
I'm awfully sorry, but no.
Haven't you? Not on how to firm things up a bit? Kylie?
Tony, this is Kevin from Parlophone. Should we cut this now? Because this is just not happening, is it?
It's just a bit of fun. Okay, now I've got other questions.
Let's try again. 2 more minutes.
Okay. Kylie?
Yes.
Okay. This is from Jane from Bury. I don't want to ask this one, but I have to. There's been a lot of rumours about you recently. Have you had any plastic surgery done?
Who asked that question?
That was Jane from Bury.
Jane. Well, Jane, there's always a lot of rumours, a lot of stories, and I would have to say that most of them are not true, and that's one of them that is, in fact, incorrect.
Okay. Kylie, thanks for coming on Century FM.
All right, thanks. Bye. Jesus. Could you hear what he was saying? Yeah. Is he retarded? I mean...
Well, I wondered.
Is he meant to be kind of funny, or... I'm stunned.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
But if it was live, he'd look like a twat.
Yeah,
Because they shouldn't play any of that. They should just... Okay.
I'll guarantee, and I'll speak to the station head later.
Honest to God.
Where are we going now? Fox, we're not...
I'm so shocked.
I'm sorry, man.
But how could you be so stupid? No, he had another opportunity, and then it was like...
Yeah.
Have you had plastic surgery? Oh my God! And even, I can't help thinking about it, even if when he'd said, it's a bit disappointing, if I'd just dealt with that and said, no, it's not, it's great, number 5, what are you talking about? They were still his following questions, and it still would have just gone downhill.
Hello Tim, hello listeners, this is Kim from Finland again. I finally got my hands on the Tension 2 LP, and I'm old school, so I love the smell of an LP, and maybe you want to hear my opinions on this masterpiece. So, my very first immediate favorite was Someone for Me because of the lyrics. I'm a writer, so I listen a lot to the lyrics, and I can so relate. And Good as Gone, it's such a grower on me. I like it more and more and more every time I hear it. And Hello, you talked about this and you called it scary and spooky or something, and I can relate to that as well, because I did the exact thing that she's singing about. Many years ago, when I had a boyfriend, and I went to his place at 4 a.m. and fortunately I had the key, so I let myself in, but needless to say, that was the end of that relationship. And now I've been single for 5 or even 6 years. I've lost count. But my favorite song at the moment is Shoulda Left Ya, also because of the lyrics. I just love it. And it could have been on the Golden album that happens to be my favorite Kylie album of all time. And I don't understand why these collaborations have to be included on this LP. I think that you, Tim, agree with me that My Oh My is horrible. It sounds like an Aqua B-side from the 90s. And I did like Aqua in the 90s. But we're not in the 90s anymore. And I don't like it. It's so cheap. And Dance Alone with Sia, I sort of like it, but as you pointed out in another episode, I don't like the line, I just want to lose my phone. Because when this song was released, I happened to end up in hospital after a minor accident. And I left the hospital in the middle of the night because my dog was home alone and I was worried, obviously, and I forgot my phone and my things. And then the next day I went back and thankfully they had my phone, but it would have been such a disaster if I wouldn't have found my phone. You know what I mean? And Midnight Ride, I sort of like it because I really like that Orville Peck's voice. I don't know who he is, but he's got this manly, fabulous voice. So I sort of like that. But they could have just left them off the LP. And also in another episode, because I'm Swedish speaking, Finland is a bilingual country with Swedish and Finnish. And also I grew up in Sweden. So Swedish is my first language. And you didn't know how to pronounce Tuvelu. So let me once and for all educate you. It's Tuvelu. Tuvelu. So now you know. And also, Kylie is coming to Finland, not to Helsinki where I live, but to the neighboring city of Espoo next summer. So I hope I can go there. I hope I can get tickets. But thank you for a great podcast yet again. And I love Kylie. Bye-bye.
Long before Kylie released her single Wow, Bananarama had an album called Wow. Are you sad like me and find little bits and pieces like that really, exciting? I am one of those people. When Kylie released Wow, I thought, oh, Bananarama, wow. Funnily enough, there is no song on the album Wow called Wow by Bananarama, which bothers the small brain of Tim, I have to say. It was released in September of 1987. It is a stock Aiken and Waterman classic. It is just brim to brim of that sort of guff, that sound of the late 80s. And to join me to talk really briefly about this classic album, I have Megs and Leigh from the United States. Welcome, Leigh.
Hello.
First time.
It is, yes. And I'm from, not the United States, I'm from the UK.
Oh, did I say United States?
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's terrible. How embarrassing for Leigh. I mean, I definitely meant United Kingdom. How are you, Leigh? And tell others, how did you find us? Because I'm always encouraging people to reach out to us because this is the everyday man's podcast and woman's podcast. How did you find us and how did you get in touch?
I think I must have seen you on a lot of different groups on Facebook. I'm sure it's either a Stock Aitken and Waterman group or a Kylie group. I think it's one of those.
Yeah, and then you reached out because you had something to say, which is good.
I love pop music.
Yes, that's what we're all about, isn't it, Megs?
Yeah, that's our big passion.
Now, Megs, before we go any further, a big announcement today for the people that listen regularly to us, of which there are dozens now. Isn't that exciting? You've turned 18.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yes, a few days ago I turned 18 and now I can go into... it's different in Australia to most places, but I can drink alcohol in public now, so that's very exciting.
Well, I've been allowing you to do that since you were 9, but yeah, absolutely legally you can do that now, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And like Frank Spencer often says, I'm a man.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but I just consider myself a young man or a young adult. I don't feel like a man yet.
Well, you're wearing the beret, though, and that's a good start.
No, I'm not.
This is excellent stuff. No, it's very exciting. I was like, honestly, for everything that I say, it was a very emotional time for me. I actually didn't cope in the days leading up to your 18th birthday. You were with your
Yeah.
mum a lot, not here, so I got to go fetal without you watching. It was a
no.
big thing to think back about when you were emerged via tongs and prongs into this world, and your head came out like Mr. Whippy Cone. It was,
Yes.
I got to reflect on all of that, and where did the time go, right?
Yeah, I know. It has been. It is crazy. It really crept up, didn't it?
It really did creep up.
Yeah.
For you, possibly not so much. You were living the childhood, but for me, yes, it
Yeah.
crept up.
Yeah. No, it came out of nowhere for me too. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. And come on, I usually wouldn't do this. And apologies, Leigh, just on the sideline there. This is really rude. Mr. Leigh from the United States. Tell us, what surprise did you get over there?
Oh yes, I got a new car. I got a car for myself. It's amazing.
I know, and we're hardly the Packers, so this was a big thing, you know, to scrape together something. So, but I'll tell you what, if anyone has not, some children ask for a lot. They're very demanding. You never ever have. So your mum and I were like,
No.
you know what? He probably deserves this.
And I was extremely surprised because everyone was saying, weren't you expecting something like that? And I was like, no, I had no idea whatsoever.
Well, you go to a school where half of the student population would just expect something like that. But for us, you know, where we
What kind of car is it? What kind of car have you got?
It's a Toyota Corolla. I think that's how you say it. I'm terrible with all the names. But it's a little silver car and it's beautiful. And it drives very well.
Do you know what's funny, Leigh? He doesn't have a license yet.
Oh, no.
Well, I have my L's. I can drive with my L's. So I just can't do it on my own yet.
You know what we're doing, though, Leigh and Megs? Anyone who's clicked on this because they saw the word Bananarama, they're just rolling their eyes and go, what the hell is this garbage? What the hell is this? I mean, come on, can you start talking about WoW?
If they know us, then maybe they'll care.
If they know us, but most of the people who click on don't. Welcome, Bananarama fans. You are a steadfast group, I tell you, because this girl group still exists and they're only releasing music every couple of years, and it's very hit and miss. Their last album was, the single off it, the 2 singles I think there was, were really quite good, stuff like that. Yeah, were really good, but the album, yuck.
Really?
Wow, it made me dry reach,
bad.
whatever you say.
Oh, no.
So harsh.
Well, no, it was pretty bad. I listened to it once, and usually I give everything a go 3 times before I can make up my mind.
I wonder if anyone disagrees with you.
Well, if they do, I'm sure they'll leave me slanderous comments like they usually do, that damn Australian and all the nasty things I've been reading over the past couple of weeks. Thanks for that, by the way, guys. Keep leaving those nasty comments.
Yeah.
It's particularly good when I'm fetal with my son about to turn 18 and I put the iPhone to my face and through tears I look at, that nasty asshole Australian.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so sobering. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. New albums aside, WoW is an amazing album. Leigh, what do you make of WoW? Because you're of that vintage, aren't you, where you were around when this was first released?
I am, yeah. It was one of the times when I kind of it was my first album, and I have it on vinyl, and I still have it somewhere in the attic. I loved it. It was.
So why is it in the attic?
Well, because I don't have a record player anymore. I didn't embrace the kind of, bringing vinyl back. I just remember it from, back in the day when it was a bit scratchy, a bit jumpy. So I have certain albums displayed on the wall in frames, but I obviously don't have a record player. But no, I loved WoW. It was proper pop music. It was really up tempo. The videos were great.
Yes.
It was kind of like when Bananarama became properly pop. They'd gone away from the kind of sulky sort of punky indie types to embracing that pop.
So let's do a bit of an education here, Leigh. You and I, feel free to chime in for Megs, who's only just really listened to this album for the first time. Bananarama, funnily enough, did not start out like they are like the symbol of sugary pop, right? That's probably how you see them. They started off as 3 friends who wanted to make alternative, sort of just whatever type of music they wanted to, grunge, indie, garage band. And they sort of thrived in their early career for being really amateurish, but somehow captivating.
Yeah.
And yet they went through, as you have been well educated by me previously, into the pop machine, and they came out the other end with something like WoW. Now, this caused all kinds of conflict for Siobhan. I think that's how you pronounce it, Leigh. Is that right?
Yes, it is, Siobhan.
Yes, with Stock Aitken Waterman.
And I'm telling you, we should both get our hands on a book, if there is one, around the recording of this album and before, because it is the stuff of legends, her and Pete Waterman going at it. At one stage in the studio, this woman, who I could totally respect, although I think it was rather immature, she, amongst the many, many delicious stories you can find, at one point she thought that these people, Stock Aitken and Waterman, put the word love into so many songs that she absolutely refused to sing the word love. So when it got in the studio, the three of them singing together, she would literally cover her mouth. Gap. No, she'd leave a gap. She'd cover her mouth with her hands and refused to sing the word love.
Oh my God.
It's just amazing, lovely that could happen in the late 80s.
She was still very punk, though, wasn't she? And she kind of accepted... She quite liked Venus, which is the first sort of production they did with Stock Aitken and Waterman, didn't they? But this was a bit too glossy for her. And I think one of the songs in particular, Strike It Rich, she really did not like it. It was kind of like everything that she wasn't as an artist. It was all, very much about making money and that ethos of the 80s. And I think that was probably, from what I understand, one of the kind of final straws in her involvement in Bananarama.
You're spot on. That's exactly around the point. But funnily enough, right, get this, right? This album is going mega, what do they call it? Gangbusters. In America, they use that expression. Yeah. It's going gangbusters. She leaves before even all the singles are released. I Want You Back, right, Megs, is released. Yeah. And no internet back then. In Australia, I'm watching it on Rage, the ABC music video show, and I'm going, gee, that woman's changed a lot. That one on the end. What the devil's going on there? And it wasn't until decades later I realised, hang on, they replaced the poor woman.
Yeah, with some other lady. Jackie O'Sullivan, I was reading.
Yeah. We never felt quite part of it.
Was she good, though?
Oh, well, she describes her experience with Bananarama as that she always felt like the third wheel. She doesn't go as far as to say they treated her poorly or coldly, but she always feels like she was just reined in at the last. Leigh's story about this. Go ahead, Leigh.
I don't think she ever kind of made any decisions, from what I understand. I think that the other Sarah and I've forgotten her name. What's the Sarah?
So have I, Leigh.
I'm looking at a picture now and going, well, that's Sarah. That's that's Jackie. Who was the other one? How ridiculous. I'm going to
can you imagine the Bananarama? You're going to get one of the comments I usually get. Yeah. Bring it on.
So it was Karen. Yeah, Karen. Karen and Sarah, they used to kind of make all the decisions about the videos and the, what tours and stuff, and Jackie just kind of went along with it. She was kind of like an employee rather than a member.
Yeah, and you would feel that way if you'd come in late and they already had this dynamic and knew what they were doing.
She was so excited when they asked. I mean, why wouldn't you be? It's like they're on the back of this successful album and they're like taking off. In America, Venus had, they were a big pop group. In fact, I don't know, I get this one, Leigh. This is really strange. In the Guinness Book of Records, listed as the most successful girl group of all time, which sounds like a load of old tosh to me. The Guinness Book of Records is a load of old tosh. That can't possibly be true. But nonetheless, they are listed as that. So she didn't hesitate to get into it. That Strike It Rich story that you told, Leigh, reminds me a lot of Madonna's Material Girl, because she... Yes. Not that she fought it at the time of recording, but she came to really... be concerned. Yeah, because she said people didn't get the irony of it. Yeah, much like this lady, I'm sure, didn't get that. Strike It Rich is, you can interpret it many ways. It doesn't have to be about money. It could be about, if you have a hard time in love, then keep going until you find it or whatever. I mean, it's just classic SAW.
Yeah, and it's a shame she left, because like the other two were willing to sort of evolve and move forward into a new sort of genre. And, it would have been good if she'd stuck around. Like, it seems a shame to me.
Funnily enough, they never had really big success after this album. I mean, that some fans would be booing me for saying that, but they never reached the dizzying heights again. Yeah. What stands out on this album, Leigh, for you? I mean, there was some killer singles off this, wasn't there?
There was. I'm surprised the actual album wasn't as high in the charts as I remembered it. I remember it being everywhere, but I think it kind of only got into the like 20s in the UK. But yeah, there was a lot. There was like a run of like their most popular singles. I Can't Help It, I Heard a Rumour, Love in the First Degree, Nathan Jones, and I Want You Back. Massive singles. I really liked the album version of Nathan Jones because it kind of went on for about 5 minutes or so. But it was more. It sounded, I felt, better than the single version that they released.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been listening to the album version. The one thing I didn't realise until recently is, okay, you said it was one of your first albums, or possibly I think you said firstly. For me, I had a little cassette drawer, which cost me $5, and that was a lot. That was all my savings. And then I started putting my cassettes in there, right? 3 drawers, very satisfying. That's when I started been introduced to the world of cataloguing, quite frankly. And my first cassette and only cassette out of these 30 slots in the drawers was Kylie, because that was my first ever album. I sort of won that. I won a Father's Day competition. My dad won a $100 voucher. And he said, do you want anything? And I had never realised, a bit like you, I didn't really ask for much. And I said, oh, and they brought me the Kylie cassette. Anyway, Bananarama Wow was the second cassette I had. And this is quite a short album. It only goes for about 40 minutes, but it was delicious. The whole thing was amazing from woe to go, frankly. I don't think there's many fillers in there for me.
And from what I'm reading here, it went really well in Australia compared to everywhere else. Like, we just sort of lapped this one
as usual. Albums that aren't as successful in other territories, they do well in Australia because we have the best taste. Impossible Princess was one of them by Kylie.
Yes, it looks good for us. I like that a lot.
I did. We pick up on we have taste, Leigh.
You do. I have to say that. Although I'm going to question Peter Andre, but it's not about him today. It's about Banana.
Hang on, he's definitely not Australian. We have this habit in Australia of saying, like Russell Crowe, probably New Zealand, but we go, no, he's Australian. He's good. Peter Andre, who probably technically is Australian, we like to say he's probably from the Greek island. Right. We've definitely disowned Peter Andre. Although I've seen him in interviews, he seems like a lovely man. Unfortunately, after all this time of thinking that wiggling man with the open shirt from back in my day turns out to actually be quite a nice man. I saw him interviewed on some YouTube video recently. Anyway, we digress. So, again, we're not going to go track by track. For people who are familiar with our podcast, we usually go for an hour. We're not doing that with these. These are short, sharp, snappy, just overviews of albums. And we're going to give it a score. How juvenile is that? But before we do, what's your standout track, Megs, for this? And what are the duds?
Well, for me, Love in the First Degree has to be the standout because me and Mum really like this song together. It's sort of like a memory song for me.
Oh, look, if your mum likes it, then it's probably in the dud pile, isn't it?
No, we have this video clip CD at home, which has all
like
video
a
clips from
karaoke
the
type
80s
thing.
and 90s. Yeah, and Mum loves this one to death, and so do I.
Do you know how many people, I know this is inappropriate, have like it caused some sort of sexual fantasy? This is, hear me out on this. Without all these, I've got about 5 people that I know, unrelated to each other, don't know each other, who've said to me, and I'm talking all sexual orientations too. I know 2 straight guys who've said to me, oh, back in the day, that film clip, I used to dream about that. I used to wake up. I think it's something to do with the whole prison thing. And you know.
It is a scenario that they set up in the video clip, I guess.
But then some gay friends that I have too talk about the dancers in it being their sexual awakening.
Oh, right.
Oh,
and
well,
even your sister, who's 10, she watched it for the first time.
Yes, and she was
like
scandalised.
She was scandalised, and I'm thinking, compared to what's that cat woman?
Oh, Doja Cat.
Doja Cat. Like, I'm thinking, seriously, this is nothing. But she got down and did the movement, and when Leigh did it on the floor here, I went, stop that, cut it out. That's really not okay.
Yeah, no, and I never actually saw it that way, even for a second. I was just always in love with the music.
Not until you saw your 10-year-old sister down there doing that funny crawling thing that they do in that video clip.
That was just supposed to be a funny thing, because then they can pop their heads up.
I know.
It's just a light-hearted video. But anyway, it's very...
Until a 10-year-old does it.
I love that video and love the song, and it's just got a lot of good memories for me.
Any duds?
No, and I would also say that's probably not my favourite song in terms of the music on its own. If you didn't have the memory attached to it, I'd say I Can't Help It might be my favourite.
That's that's the opening track, I think, isn't it?
I don't know. It's one of the singles.
I think it is. Yep.
Yeah, and I just love it.
I love it too. And the film clip seems like, at the time for me, deliberately, I'm sure, but it seemed like a little bit more grainy and unpolished. But that's interesting. And Leigh, over to you. Like, what do you see as the standouts here, and dare I say the duds?
Oh, well, for me, it was "I Want You Back," which I think is the last song on the album, mainly because they had this ridiculous dance routine that they did, and I can still do it now. Whenever this song comes on, the chorus bit, I can launch into that dance routine, and it's just a great pop record. The one that I wasn't particularly keen on, which is the one that I would always skip, would be "Once in a Lifetime." It's kind of I don't think Stock Aitken Waterman did brilliant ballads, to be honest with you, and it's okay, but it's not my favourite.
Feels a bit obligatory, doesn't it? Like they felt like they had to put one in somewhere. It's a sweet song, though. I mean, yeah, but I would probably be, funnily enough, Leigh, and I mean this quite sincerely, the same two that I've got jotted down. I Want You Back because if anyone knows me, they know the more sugary and poppy it is. And the video clip was absolutely way and overtly over the top. I think they paid homage to some of the Motown singers.
Yes,
is that the one? Yeah. And for me, there are no duds, but if I had to pick a dud, I don't want to pick a dud because I'm looking at them all going, I love them all. I love Come Back. Although sometimes if I skip, I might skip that one. Strike It Rich, funnily enough, maybe because I've heard it so much. I think I'm with you. Once in a Lifetime would have to be the dud. But isn't it good that we struggle to find it as well?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like there's a couple in there that I'm not a huge fan of like some girls.
Don't you pipe up from the sideline? You had your shot.
Yeah. No, well, I'm just saying like a couple of them, they didn't really grab me very much. Maybe I'd need to hear them a few more times.
Well, be specific. Which ones?
I think it was Some Girls.
No, that's sacrilegious.
Yeah, and maybe Once in a Lifetime. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just I think the singles are the ones that I really like.
Well, if anyone wants like a healthy slice of 80s, early 90s Stock Aitken and Waterman classic, this is an album like it. Like the only ones that would be more prime examples, possibly Rick Astley, Jason, and Kylie, I would say.
And it never slows down the tempo, does it? They're all upbeat and fast.
Well, Once in a Lifetime. Yeah.
It slows down a bit.
Yeah.
And I think it was good because it was Stock Aitken and Waterman, but it wasn't that at that stage where they'd gone really, really formulaic and everything sounded the same. There was still a difference in the sounds of some of the songs, which was good.
Can I tell you, Leigh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because to me, I always wondered where that came from. And now that I've done research more recently, I've seen, with the advent of YouTube, you can go back and see all of them telling their stories. I would say that might have been part of the, in inverted commas, negotiation between the ladies and Stock Aitken and Waterman, trying to find that middle ground of this is too sugary. So I agree. When I listened to it, I felt like, dare I say, this was actually edgy compared to the music I was listening to at the time. Some of the track, like Strike It Rich, even having the word bitch in it, which I would have thought was unheard of on a SAW, which is why I thought that lady might have liked that song. But some of the, I don't know, there was a slight, not harshness, but there was an edge, wasn't there, Leigh? Something slightly, not less formulaic, as you say.
Yeah.
Have you heard, by the way, Leigh, I Want You Back has the demo version on some of the new re-releases? It's called something else.
Yeah,
I have. Strange.
Yeah, because they used to do a lot of different versions, didn't they, of songs that then became something else. I don't mind it. I prefer
the whole chorus was different though. You don't get the words "I want you back." It was something like, I can't remember. Disgraceful that I can't remember, but the whole chorus was different. The verses were the same.
I have to say, I did go and see the girls when they reunited a couple of years ago. So the original lineup, and they did all the singles off this album, and it was pretty good. I think you can really tell which is Siobhan's voice. I think once Siobhan left, you can't really differentiate between the two girls' voices, but when Siobhan's singing, you can hear that.
100%. And what's really interesting about Bananarama, unlike other girl groups or possibly any of them, they don't have solos. They were always singing together throughout the whole track. And if they ever did have a solo, and I'm sure someone will leave me a comment and prove me wrong here, but it was it was a rare occasion. They just sung together.
Yeah.
Please let me put an honourable mention in for a song that I had never heard until I went back for the sake of this podcast, and I listened to a different version of the album, some deluxe
so
version
many
or something.
different versions.
Oh, there's too many. It's just stupid, frankly. But there's this song that goes. The whole time, right? And I'm thinking this is bizarre. And then it's like dirty, 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 dirty. It's one of the funniest songs I've ever heard. I was actually laughing hysterically on my way to work. It's called Mr. Sleaze.
Oh,
and
right.
It is just ridiculous. Like if you wrote that about a woman for a start, like Mrs. Slut or something, I mean... And it's just like he's dirty, dirty, dirty. He's unpleasant. He smells. He's dirty, dirty, dirty. He's unpleasant. He smells.
And I'm
unbelievable.
There's like a Rare Groove remix here written on
of Mr. Sleaze.
Yeah,
what, they remixed that.
Maybe that was a remix you were hearing. Even
it was a big hit in the clubs in the UK.
Was it really?
Yeah, it didn't go into the charts, but it was a hit in the discotheques, as they used to say.
It sounds so not what they were doing. It's like the opposite of what they were doing.
Pete Waterman would have just fallen over and clutched his chest if he heard that.
Do you think it possibly could have been about Pete Waterman? Could it have been Siobhan's swan song?
Oh, that's so rude. Poor Pete. I don't think there's been... He's one of the few people from that era who hasn't been caught up in the Me Too movement. But thank you very much, Leigh, for bringing him into it. That's brilliant.
Poor him.
Poor Pete Waterman. Hey, listen, Megs and Leigh, thank you so much for talking about WOW. We're going to wrap it up with a score, a juvenile score. We're on the playground now. We're in year 6 again, Leigh, all right? And you've just said, what do you give it out of 10?
Oh, can we do half points?
I'm doing a quarter, so you can.
You're doing a quarter. I'm gonna give it 8.5.
8.5.
8.5. Really, yeah.
You must really like it.
Pop. Yeah.
Megs,
I give it an 8.
Give it an 8.
Yes.
Solid 8.
Solid 8.
Okay, I'm going to go 8.25.
Oh,
yeah. Just because when I was on the playground, I always wanted to be different and annoying. By the way, I had a chicken stock cube container with the chicken stock cubes have been used, and that's where I used to save my money, like my pocket money. And I remember buying Enjoy Yourself by Kylie. I saved in that chicken stock cube jar for months until I had enough money. I gave it to my dad, and he went up to Bondi Junction to get Enjoy Yourself on the very first day because I had nailed it when it was coming out. And he bought a copy for my friend, gave him money too. Brought back one copy and a blank cassette and said, you can just copy yours from his. You'll save a lot of money that way.
No.
There were tears and tantrums.
Yeah.
And yes, my head was in the pillow.
It's such an accurate story because he's so practical, but you like the mystique of the whole thing.
Oh, man, it had been a big investment of time and money. Like that stock cube. I think the stock cube jar got chucked across the room. Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
God.
And I'm giving away too much. Hey, Leigh, this was your very, very first time on Time to Talk. You've been awesome. Have you enjoyed it?
I have. I've loved it. It's great to talk about music that you remember really fondly from years gone by. So, yeah, it's been wonderful.
Different times, right? Much simpler, happier times.
Yeah.
What do they say? BC, before children. Cameron, Megs?
What?
Have you had a good time?
Oh, yes. I didn't know you.
I hadn't asked you a question, actually. No. I'm looking at you with a question mark, but I hadn't asked one.
His one was specifically for him. But yes, no. I really enjoyed it. Yes, I love talking about music. And Bananarama, I've always loved them. And I love that sort of style of music because I would have loved living in the 80s. Like you say, it seemed much simpler and happier and the music was better.
I'll tell you what, though, that iPhone in front of you wouldn't have existed, so that would have been tough for you. Hey, anyone listening, please leave a comment. What do you think of Bananarama's 1987 album, Wow? What can you tell us about it that we've missed, which is probably a whole stack? Thank you so much, Leigh and Megs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.